So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going for a swim, and I like to have like a little bit of a gummy before the swim. I've told you this before, but like, so I come out the pool. You know, I'm feeling extra chill. I'm just rolling up to the disabled changing rooms, and I've got the like the little key to open it. It's not like a key; it's
Yeah.
you could just open it with a coin. Didn't expect anyone to be in there, and there was a woman in there, and I was like, "Oh, sorry," and she was like, "Oh no, sorry." And she was almost done. She was like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be in here. I'm sorry. I'll leave." And I was like, "Yeah, no worries." Didn't think anything of it. And she went. And I shouldn't laugh, but she was like, "The thing is, I've got cancer," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like,
Oh my God.
I just wanted a bit more room, and you know, so I'm sorry, but you know." And I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
no worries." And she left, and I went in, and I was just there, like, what?
Uh,
Like, sorry, I, I just don't.
you don't know what to say. There are definitely so many times where people have shared some random medical not like thing with me because they've been in the like accessible bathroom. Um, I don't know, like some weird thing that and it's not funny that she has cancer like in any way
Right?
at all. Like that's awful and horrible and really hard. But like the random things that people share with you about
Yeah.
why they're using some space that's like bigger is you're just like you're trying to tease out in your own mind whether that makes sense and whether you feel compassion for them or whether you're just confused and you're like, okay, like, yeah,
I
I
just
don't
didn't know
know.
how to react. I thought I'd share it like without reaction to get your reaction, but I was like, okay, cool. Like you know, this is the only one that the doors open outwards. So I know if you know, I'm sorry you got cancer, and I'm sorry if you wanted a bit more room, but this is literally the only one in the whole that I
Yeah,
can use. And I didn't say that. I didn't make her feel bad. I was just like, no, it's all good,
yeah,
no worries. But I was just in
yeah.
there, especially like
Go.
after having a gummy. I was just like, I'm a bit stoned, just
What?
like, did that lady say she had cancer? What the hell? How is
Yeah,
that relevant to being in
I
the?
know.
It's like
And
some
it's
sort of
like
excuse. Yeah.
it is a really weird thing and you definitely get I had like an interesting comment on YouTube a while ago when I was talking about not using accessible bathrooms. And one lady said, some of us have invisible disabilities, you know, give us a break too. And my exact answer to her was an invisible disability without a mobility device is not any good excuse to use the one stall that is made bigger for visible mobility device using
Mm.
disabilities. And she was like, well, I have Crohn's disease, you know, and it's easier for me when I'm in there when I have to use some of the equipment I need for my colostomy bag. And I was like, okay, I get it. You have lots of stuff for your colostomy bag. I'm like, can you physically get in the other bathroom stalls? Because I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
like, well, so I had that like conversation with her and I wasn't rude in the comments. I just said,
Mm.
because something is convenient for you doesn't mean that you should use it. The, you know, stalls that we have are not conveniences to us. They are the only option. We can't get into other ones. So even though the bigger one might be more convenient for you, the small ones actually still work for you.
Right.
And so then after that, she was like, I'd never looked at it like that. She's like, it's really just convenience that I'm looking for, not my only option. And I was like, yeah, your convenience is taking away my opportunity entirely. If you are in the
Mm.
bathroom for 20 minutes doing your colostomy bag, I
Yeah.
don't have the opportunity to use the bathroom. So it's interesting the excuses. And you know, it might sound cruel to say that it's an excuse, but it is an excuse
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's an interesting story, and I think it comes up a lot when people
Mm.
give you their personal medical information that isn't relevant, just so that you'll feel some level of compassion for them rather
Yeah.
than annoyance.
So I was in the airport, and I was waiting to use the disabled toilet, and one of the staff members came out, and when she saw me, she was like, "I've got a really bad back," and I was,
Oh,
"Is it as bad as mine?" Like, fuck off.
That's what you gotta say, right? You're like, is it as bad as mine? Yeah. I know. That's like the very interesting things that people, the one-upping is interesting. And I know that a lot of people do it to relate, which is why I always really try to see it as a way of people relating to you instead of like one-upping you,
Yeah.
because generally I think that's the goal, is that people are trying to be like, we have something similar, even if it's not the exact same thing, I can kind of relate to what you're going through. But it's always interesting, for sure, the things that people say to us.
Yeah, and when I go up to the disabled toilets now, I knock on them because you never know who's in there. And if someone comes out in a wheelchair, sweet, that's fine, take your time. But I knock on the door because I'm like, whoever's in there, generally
Yeah.
speaking, it's not someone in a wheelchair. So
Not
yeah,
usually, no.
that's
But
interesting.
yeah, you never know until somebody comes out. And there have been times that I've been like working myself up into a frenzy about like, oh, this person's such an asshole. And then somebody comes out with a stroller or a baby, and that's
Mm,
where the change tables are, at least in Canada. And I'm like, oh, totally, totally using it legitimately. I'm sorry
yeah,
for
yeah.
being an asshole in my mind. But yeah.
No, I don't knock aggressively. I'm just like,
No,
hey,
no,
if you
no.
just in
Yeah.
case you didn't know, there is someone waiting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
it's
100%.
interesting because when I was on Wheelchair Rick's podcast recently, he asked me what my pet peeve was, and that's what I said it was. But I realized the other day I have a bigger pet peeve, and that is able-bodied people using the elevator to go down. When they don't have any luggage or anything. So I was at the gym the other day, and I went to go to use the elevator, and I went up like one floor, and the guy was there, and he was in like mountain bike attire. So he's just about to go out mountain biking for the entire day. He's got his helmet, he's got his pads on, and he gets in the lift. And I was like, going down? He's like, yeah. Didn't fancy the stairs then? He was like, yeah, nah. And I was like, mate, you're going down one floor. It's literally taken you more time to
To
wait for the
press the
lift
button.
than to just go down. It
I know.
infuriates me. Like, I understand if you're going up. Like, I still think people should be encouraged to use the stairs if you can, because people, it's good exercise.
Yeah.
And what annoys me was, even at my rehab center, I would catch staff members using the lift to go down one floor, and I'm like, hey, we are like, there's loads of wheelchair users in this rehab center. This is shameful that you're taking up the elevator space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
that is a bigger pet peeve than the changing rooms.
It's interesting. The other day I had an experience, well, before I left for my holiday, I had an experience where I went to physio and I was going down, and I had the like an opposite experience where I had a guy who was adamant about not using the elevator, and that's so odd because I was just going to hold it for him because he was coming out of the one of the doors of one of the other like businesses, and I was like going down, and he was like, "Yep, but I'm going to use the stairs." And I was like, "Oh, you're going to use?" And I was like, "You're going to get some exercise." And he was like, "I never use elevators." He was like, "Why would I? I can walk."
Yeah.
And it was so interesting. I've never
Mm.
ever had somebody be so adamant, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's awesome." And then when we got to the bottom, I got to the bottom relatively at the same time, and he was like, "Hey, I thought it would be way faster to take the stairs, but I guess we're at the same time." So we were just like comparing the timing of it, but it was so interesting because usually if I like hold the elevator, people are like, "Yep, I'm coming in,"
Mm.
and I don't even
Yeah.
think about it because everybody uses the elevator, right? So
Yeah. 100%. Because we were talking about weight loss recently, well, on the podcast. If you're able-bodied and you're watching this, take the stairs, not the elevator. I know, like we say, nutrition is more important, but like if you make those little choices of like, I'm going to
yeah,
take the stairs instead of the escalator, I'm going to take the stairs instead of the lift, that really, really adds up. If you get
adds
that
up.
mental mindset to like, be as active as possible, then that will help with weight loss and just general fitness.
Yeah, no
Um,
kidding.
so I think we've run over a little bit. I don't know. Should we
Yeah,
should we pack it up, pack it in? Should we bring it home?
sure. Let's bring it home. Yeah.
This has been really fun. Thanks so much, Brittany. I really appreciate you sharing. And we will see you guys next week.
Yeah. See you guys next week.
Well, we hoped you enjoyed that conversation and it gave you something to think about. Now, if you'd like to support the podcast, please hit subscribe, as this will mean you will get recommended new episodes as they drop every week. If you think there is someone that would enjoy listening to this, then please share it with them, as word of mouth recommendations are the number one way to grow new podcasts like this. But most importantly, love yourselves and each other, and we'll see you in the next episode.